Hello there. Welcome to Just the Dis. We talk about Blu-rays here. And for this video, I am talking about some Warner Archive Blu-rays that have come out in the month of July, and maybe one from June, I think, as well. And I'm going to get right into it here. Talk about I Wouldn't Be in Your Shoes. This is from 1948. A breezy 71 minutes, which I love. This is a Monogram Pictures noir, and it opens in a prison, and it has a man on death row awaiting his time in the electric chair. And of course, that is almost always an opportunity to reflect back on how he got there. And so this is a pretty interesting story in that, you know, you've got a man wrongly accused of murder, wrongly convicted of murder, based on shoes, as you can see in the title here. So this is directed by William Nye. It is a Monogram Pictures release. Nye did a lot of films for Monogram Pictures. It's, you know, a Poverty Row studio, but they do some really enjoyable and, again, breezy films, so I kind of dig their stuff. They're not always great, but there are some gems, and this has some pedigree to it in that it is based on a book by Cornell Woolrich, who, of course, most famously, I think, for me anyway, wrote the short story that Rear Window is based on, and has done some other work that has been, actually quite a bit, that's been adapted into films over the years. So that's a good start. The screenplay is by Steve Fisher, who is a really interesting and good screenwriter from this period. And he did things, his highest profile stuff is things like Dead Reckoning with Bogart, Lady in the Lake. He did I Wake Up Screaming, that's his big one. He did a movie called The Woman They Almost Lynched, which Olive Films put out on Blu-ray a few years back, and I think is a really interesting movie. He also did a book that I love called Giveaway, which is a sort of a, you know, kid on the fringes of Hollywood in the 50s, if I remember, kind of, you know, sleeping in the park and trying to make his way in Hollywood, and gets hooked up with some folks that aren't in his best interests. Anyway, it's a really good book. I love the book, and so when I see Steve Fisher, I think of that. So he's on the screenplay. And so it's an interesting story. It's about this guy and his wife, or his girlfriend. They're vaudevillian dancers, and they're out of work and have been for a while. And she's like a dance hall girl now, and he's very unhappy about that. And she comes home one night, and he's complaining to her, and then he apologizes. And they're about to go to bed, and there's some cats, you know, screeching outside, and he throws his shoes at the cats. And he misses, apparently, and she's like, well, go get your shoes. And he's like, all right. She's like, those are the only pair of shoes you have, and there's tap shoes, so very specific shoes, apparently. He goes outside, he can't find the shoes, and the next day he wakes up, and I think they're outside the door or something like that, and they just thought, oh, it's, you know, some nice neighbor returning the shoes or something like that, and come to find out that somebody went and committed a murder in those shoes, and now he ends up convicted for that murder, and it kind of goes from there as to like how it all unfolds, you know. But apparently this is from future Oscar-winning producer Walter Mirisch, who would do In the Heat of the Night, The Apartment. I mean, he did tons of stuff. And he broke into the film business at Poverty Row Studio Monogram Pictures in 1947 with his first film called Fall Guy, which is also based on a short story by Cornell Woolrich. And then the following year, he brought another production derived from Woolrich, which is this, to the studio. And it says, directed by screen veteran William Nye, I Wouldn't Be in Your Shoes is a captivating tale about a down-on-his-luck dancer, Don Castle, set up and wrongly accused of murder, and the efforts of his devoted wife, Elise Knox, to prove his innocence against all odds. Virtually unseen for decades and now restored from original nitrate elements, little gem of a film will impress new audiences, and one scene will not soon be forgotten. Yeah, it's a good little movie, and it looks great. I didn't realize it was restored from nitrate, but the print looks wonderful. As I've said on the channel many times, Warner Archive does an excellent job with their Blu-ray releases. They have a really high standard as to what they will even put out, and so I am very happy that this is yet again another beautiful looking transfer from them, and a little noir gem that I hadn't heard of, I'll be honest. So this one, again, from 1948, 71 minutes. Special features, there's a short, The Symphony Murder Mystery, and Cartoon Holiday for Shoestrings. So you've got a couple little extra things on top. So that is I Wouldn't Be in Your Shoes. Next up we have Step by Step, which is from 1946. Another breezy 62-minute film. This one has the great Lawrence Tierney in it. He of Dillinger and, of course, Reservoir Dogs fame. And it says that this one is reuniting the stars of Dillinger, and that it includes Anne Jeffreys as well. So he plays an ex-GI, I think, that gets caught up in an espionage plot. It says the star of 1945's Dillinger are reunited in this fast-paced espionage thriller from director Phil Rosen. Lawrence Tierney stars as Marine veteran Johnny Christopher, who meets and is immediately drawn to the beautiful Evelyn Smith. That's Anne Jeffreys, of course. Evelyn's new job as a secretary to a U.S. senator in California soon brings unexpected intrigue and trouble for her and Johnny. The machinations of a sinister group of Nazi spies lead to mysteries and mistaken identities, and the two soon find themselves framed for murder yet again. A little thematic this month. Yeah, and so this one is enjoyable as well. I don't know if I liked it quite as much as I Wouldn't Be in Your Shoes, but I do like early Lawrence Tierney roles. Like, I think he's just one of those actors that's got a presence about him. You can see why he had a certain staying power, and that he, would continue to work for years and years after. I mean, I just watched him in John Sayles' movie City of Hope recently, and he has a very small part as like an ex-politician. That movie's very much like The Wire, sort of, as a movie about a city and the machinations of city government and stuff like that. And he has a role as like an ex-politician, and he's just got like one scene, and he's just amazing in it, like a really solid actor. I've heard he was incredibly difficult to work with, maybe had a drink or two here and there, and, could be problematic. I don't know if it was worth all the trouble for those that worked with him, but I certainly enjoy the performances, and this is the case with Step by Step as well. Another movie I hadn't heard of, and it is written by Stuart Palmer, who I guess did a bunch of the Bulldog Drummond movies, which Mr. Tarantino talked about recently on our Public Domain episode of Pure Cinema. So one of the writers of those films. So that made for good writing in terms of this. I thought it was enjoyable. And the director, it was also based on George Callahan. I can't remember if it was his book or a story by, sorry. And he had worked on a bunch of Charlie Chan movies. So you have sort of that kind of vibe in terms of the mystery energy of the film. But yeah, no, enjoyed this. And it also has Jason Robards Sr., Jason Robards' dad in a part as well. And this one has another short, The Transatlantic Mystery, and a cartoon, The Great Piggy Bank Robbery. I do love that they continue to include that kind of extra bit with these releases. You get a little bit of the Night at the Movies experience. So that is Step by Step. Next we have Take Me Out to the Ball Game with Frank Sinatra, Esther Williams, and Gene Kelly. This is a classic musical, and it was produced by Arthur Freed, directed by Busby Berkeley, the great Busby Berkeley, and is a classic. I mean, truly a gem, and one that, I know it'll look great and sound great. And it says Frank Sinatra and Gene Kelly play ball in a big way in a 1900s, as 1900s vaudevillians who spend the winter flinging the onstage Blarney and the summer flinging the old horsehide for a baseball's world champs, the Wolves. And it says Sinatra is a second sacker, Dennis Ryan and Kelly as a shortstop, Eddie O'Brien, this Busby Berkeley directed romp that combines baseball with that other all-American pastime, romance. Esther Williams plays the new team owner, and Betty Garrett is a baseball Annie with eyes for the blue-eyed Ryan. Kelly and Stanley Donen's deft musical staging range from a soft shoe duet charmer to an exciting barrel roll Kelly solo. Their work apparently persuaded producer Arthur Freed to greenlight their direction on the same year's On the Town. So that's cool. I love that kind of thing where you get a classic like this that inspires another classic. I prefer On the Town to this, but of course it has the great song that we all know. And yeah, that choreography by Stanley Donen Stanley Donen and Gene Kelly makes for some great athletic musical numbers. And so this is just another, musical classic. They definitely have not neglected the musicals in the Warner Brothers library in terms of these Warner Archive releases. Some of these aren't getting official Warner Home Entertainment releases, but at least the lion's share of even the second-tier musicals are getting releases. But this is obviously a top-tier musical release from them, and so this is going to be something that a lot of people are going to be excited about. 93 minutes, not bad, not over long for a musical, also kind of breezy, but a great cast, great choreography, great songs, and a good movie. And then we have Objective Burma. This one is from 1945, I think, and stars Mr. Errol Flynn. I know I feel like he did some war movies, but obviously he is mostly known for, some of his swashbuckler stuff and some other action roles. This is a bit more dramatic, a bit more, a bit heavier, I think, for him, but he's equally good in this. The review on the back says a harrowing pace, wealth of interesting military detail, one thrilling scene after another. This one is directed by the great Raoul Walsh, has a great score by Franz Waxman, and it's kind of epic. I want to say it's 142 minutes, so it's not a short movie, black and white war film. It says mission accomplished. Errol Flynn, who brought the boyish bravado to Adventures of Robin Hood, Dodge City, Gentleman Jim. I love Dodge City, by the way. If you haven't seen Dodge City, that's a Warner Home Entertainment release, a great Western that Errol Flynn is in that I highly recommend. And Other Screen Yarns turns in a mature, acclaimed performance as the leader of a paratrooper patrol stranded in Burma. It's one of the few features of which I am proud, Flynn later said. That's a big deal, considering he made a lot of films he should be proud of. But definitely something that he, in terms of the acting work he did, admired how he sort of came through this one. There's a reason for pride. This is one of the finest World War II films made during the war, the movie guide says. One of the best war movies, Guide for the Film Fanatics, Danny Perry wrote. That's huge praise from one of my heroes. Danny Perry is a huge inspiration to me, and I think I may have first heard of this movie because of his writings about it in Guide for the Film Fanatic, which is my favorite book of all time. And I do recommend you pick up Guide for the Film Fanatic. In fact, we did an episode all about it on Pure Cinema as well. He says, one of the best war movies and among the grimmest. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Something I feel like war movies should be is a bit grim because it's a tough thing to portray. Raoul Walsh directs the hard-hitting action shot in rugged California locations, so similar to Burma that veterans of the campaign refused to believe the crew hadn't somehow sneaked into Asia. So, authentic-looking locations and a great portrait of war, apparently. Special features, 2 classic Warner Brothers wartime shorts, 1941's The Tanks Are Coming with George Tobias, Richard Travis, and Gig Young, and 1943's The Rear Gunner with Burgess Meredith and Ronald Reagan. That's all you get there except for the trailer, but I think between a 142-minute movie and the shorts, you are all set. I'm sure this will be another beautiful-looking transfer from Warner Archive and another nice release from July. And lastly, I think this one came out in June. This is a really interesting movie with Humphrey Bogart and Eleanor Parker. One of the rare films where Bogart plays a jet pilot. And I can't think of too many. I feel like there must be another one that I'm blanking on, but Matt Brennan knows how to open eyes to the potential of the JA-3, an experimental jet. He'll pilot it from Nome over the North Pole to Washington, D.C., and land it on the Pentagon's lap. The distance is beyond the JA-3's tested range. Nor can the craft provide the pressurization needed for the flight at 80,000 feet. But Brennan has some modifications in mind and the courage to put them to the test. Humphrey Bogart plays Brennan in Chain Lightning's lofty mix of adventure and romance. Eleanor Parker, as a World War II flame who re-enters Brennan's life, fuels the romance, and the adventure takes wing with a story that, like Breaking the Sound Barrier, The McConnell Story, and other post-war films, taps into the era's fascination with jet aviation. So I find those are fun movies. Obviously, this precedes things like The Right Stuff, which is my favorite in that sort of ilk. But it is definitely one that is interesting. Like I said, for Bogart's performance, I love Eleanor Parker, underrated actor of the period, and just lovely and a wonderful performer. And it's directed by Stuart Heisler, who is a director I'm vaguely familiar with, and I feel like Scorsese is a fan of his, and I'm blanking, of course, on the film. Gosh, it might be a Bing Crosby musical called Blue Skies that I'm thinking of, but now I'm not exactly sure that that's Stuart Heisler or not. But I know Scorsese has spoken of Stuart Heisler, so I would imagine he's seen this. Maybe he's a fan of it. I don't know. But I do like Bogart in the very adventure-y movies, you know? I mean, it's fun to see him play those kind of roles. Let's see here. So this one includes something called Cartoon Bare Feet and Joe McDoke's short So You Want to Be an Actor, which I feel like I remember from having seen it previous to this, which is a fun little short. But anyway, so that's Chain Lightning. For the Bogart fans out there that think they've seen all his roles, maybe this one you haven't seen. I don't know. Worth checking out, and out from Warner Archive in June, I believe. So that is it for the July stuff. But let me just say I'm very excited for August with Warner Archive. Among other things, we have the Blu-ray debut of One Crazy Summer coming. That, of course, is Savage Steve Holland's part of what I call his trilogy, which is, you know, Better Off Dead, One Crazy Summer, How I Got into College. So One Crazy Summer finally making its Blu-ray debut in August, as is another one that I adore, which is Sidney Lumet's Prince of the City, is coming to Blu-ray on August 24th via Warner Archive. And this is one I've waited for years. Just an incredible, epic tale based on some real corrupt policemen, starring the great Treat Williams, among many others. Just a great cop movie, really epic and dark and well performed, and I just love it. It's one of my favorite Lumet films, one of my favorite cop films, and I cannot wait for that Blu-ray. So I will definitely be talking about those when I talk about the August stuff for Warner Archive next month. But for now, I hope you enjoyed this one. Definitely keep an eye on what Warner Archive is announcing, as they are sneaking out some fun stuff, and it's a very exciting time for surprises like those. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.